Today we have Cornwall Community Foundation, who provide invaluable support to communities in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, awarding grants to grassroots, frontline and volunteer-led organisations. Their support, both financially and with their experience, proves necessary to many organisations across the country. With us now is Cornwall Community Foundation's Programmes Director, Kirsty Philpott, to tell us more. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
It's lovely to meet you. So this is your first time on the show?
Yeah, so I'm a bit like first time on telly.
You're doing perfectly.
Okay.
It'll be so good. So Chaos has worked with CCF in the past before, but for those who might not know, including myself, tell us more about the Cornwall Community Foundation.
So the Cornwall Community Foundation is an independent grant provider.
Yeah.
And we're made up of a number of community foundations across every county nearly in the UK has a community foundation. And the purpose of us is to raise funding locally through donations. We work with businesses, individuals. We have a friends scheme to raise those donations, which then go back into the community to support organisations like Chaos and food banks and a whole host. So we have 70 different grant programmes.
Oh wow!
All with different criteria.
Yeah.
So and I head them all up.
You must be very busy.
Just a bit, yeah. But it's really nice because you get to see the donor and what they aspire to achieve with their funding, and then create that into a programme which community groups can access to help people.
That's lovely. It sounds like such a rewarding job.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about what your role involves?
Yeah, of course. So I love my role in particular because I get to do a bit of everything.
Oh, lovely.
Because it's getting the money in and talking to the donors about where the need is in Cornwall, which is vitally important, so we can channel that funding appropriately. And I get to see all the groups that come in and asking for the requests. I become a bit of the voice of the foundation, and I absolutely love that aspect of the job. I love being the voice of the guys on the ground, the people that we help, and hopefully generating some income to come back and to support the good stuff that the groups on the ground are achieving. So we enable the groups to access the funding. Within that, there's quite a lot of finance, so I do quite a lot of finance around that. Seeing the applications. This morning I was just at there was a Poverty Voice campaign to kick off Poverty Week. So that was really, really interesting. So I attended that this morning to listen to collective voices on the issues of Cornwall and what we can do, no matter how small, to start addressing some of those issues.
That's wonderful. So how do you kind of go about getting the funding? Is it donations? Do you fundraise yourselves?
So at the moment we've got a cost of living campaign. So we are trying to get as many donations as we can to help those organisations providing food, warm hubs over the winter period, although we're starting to see that happening now. And we hold it's really raising awareness. So we have a Friends of the Foundation where people can annually donate to us, which all goes back out for grant making. We also then work with businesses in Cornwall, and we work with individuals in Cornwall who want to give back. They just want to give back. So they would come to us and say, we have X amount, we want to set up a fund. So we start speaking to them about the need. They start to tell us where they see a need as well, and we collectively discuss that to try and create a grant programme that reflects what the voluntary sector or the third sector requires. So it's a lot of collaboration, partnership, talking, discussion in order to get, I guess, we're the bridge. We see the need, we can get to some of the donors and we can just join them up and make sure the funding that we have for Cornwall is used the most effectively, efficiently and beneficially, which is the most important thing, as possible for the people of Cornwall.
That's wonderful. That's so good. So regarding the grants and the funding, what's the process? How does one apply to that? How would businesses or individuals apply for it?
So what we've got the people that we support are non-profit or community interest companies or registered charities or just an unofficial corporation. So you could be your football clubs, like I said, the food banks, Chaos has applied before, a whole host of different organisations that are out there, and we tend to fund about 600 community groups a year.
Oh wow.
And last year we gave out 2.4 million in grants, so that's huge. That's one of our biggest years. And the process is, because we've got 70 different grant programs, which is very, very confusing to the outside world, we just say put in an expression of interest. And that's basically who, what, where, why.
Yeah.
A few simple questions. It comes into the grants team, who do a phenomenal job at working with the organisations to understand what they're applying to, and then we direct them into the correct funding pot and the criteria that we've got. So it's all about removing barriers to access funding. So we want people to come to us with their ideas instead of saying, this is the prescribed criteria, you must fit this box.
Yeah.
So it's, you tell us, and let's look behind the scenes
kind
and
of
see
figure
how
out.
how it can work. And then we have a group of people when the applications come in. What the grants team do, which is quite unique and bespoke, I think, to foundations, is we carry out an assessment, because what we've learned in the past is that some groups are really good at filling out forms and others are not so great. They don't have the capacity. So we can help through that process, and we have a group of independent people that come together to look at all these applications that are specialists in the community to say, yes, this application is value for money, because we've only got a finite amount of money.
Yeah.
So we normally have way more applications than the money available. So it's just whittling through to see what best fits the programme, where the need is, and how can that all join up and help the people that need it. But what the grants team do, sorry, I'm going off track, that they, when they do this assessment, they will ring the group.
Okay.
So they'll ring the group to get a real good feel for what it is. So every assessment template that goes to a panel and make the decisions looks the same, feels the same, asks the same questions. So it's completely non-biased in that sense, where it's all conforming. So then the panel they're in the best position to make that decision based on the information they've got.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So who's actually eligible for funding? Is it anyone? Can anyone apply?
So
within reason, obviously.
Yeah, so we have a number of grant programmes, and they're all very different and set up for their own unique reasons. But the biggest grant programmes that we have are for community. So they are for the drama groups, they're for the food banks, they're for, I don't know, we've got gleaning. Have you ever gone to gleaning?
I don't think so, no. What's that about?
So gleaning is where there was a lady who saw a bit of a gap in the market and said, there are cauliflowers that get ploughed into the fields because the supermarkets don't want them. So they will go out with a team of volunteers, take the cauliflowers off and give them to the food banks.
Okay.
So they would apply to us to try and get volunteer training or transport or something along those lines to go and clear that field and then be able to give that. So it's about reducing waste and making the most of what's there and available. But of course, all of these organisations are voluntary or have not paid staff. So the easiest thing that I always say is businesses their goal is to make a profit. Our goal, because we're also a charity, is to help people.
Yeah.
So that's our goal. And of course, in order to do that, we need the funding. But going back to the question of, who do we help? It is so many different groups. We've also just started to establish a fund, which is very, very new, so quite hot off the press, for young people wanting to start a business in Cornwall. So we give them up to £2,000 if they can explain to us what it is they want to do and how their business would also benefit the community at the same time. And we would just read through what they say, speak to them, and they can access £2,000 to help them on their way. So it's really broad.
Yeah, that's
really
wonderful,
broad.
because a lot of young people, especially I found when I was a lot younger and trying to even figure out what I wanted to do, if I had maybe an opportunity like that, if someone who's more business minded, they might not move out of Cornwall to go and start a business somewhere and things like that. There's so many opportunity, it's just opening a lot of opportunities and a lot of doors for people, really, isn't it?
Definitely, a lot of doors. What I'd say is that, it opens a lot of opportunity, a lot of doors, and one of the biggest things I've found is people that don't fit into some of society's boxes quite neatly. That's where we help the most.
That's wonderful.
That's where we can help the most, because, I say you guys do the do, we enable the grant funding for you to do the do, and that's where I see that the groups that collectively come to us to access funding, it's all about the people and what they want. It's as simple as that. Simple as that.
That's lovely. So CCF have supported hundreds of organisations and provide hundreds of individual grants. Can you tell us about more of the organisations you work with?
Yeah, so we, I mean, it might be easier if I go in at a story of a beneficiary maybe, so you can kind of understand. So we've had quite a lot of organisations. Well, the Liscariot Centre up by us, near Liscard, they've just set up a warm hub for people to come in and socialise, have a cup of tea, maybe have a hot meal and keep warm for an hour to increase well-being. So they have just launched their first one. They had 91 people attend and they had to turn people away.
Oh my.
Bearing in mind they're a charity, so the costs that they require to do that come from us. We had a person or an organisation had a person that had to go into temporary accommodation. And there was a whole package around that as to what it is that these groups can provide. So what I'm really learning is the food banks and the drama groups, they're a tool to get people in. Yeah. And then you talk to people, it's all about relationships, and then the real problem starts to be solved. Because someone accessing the food bank isn't the problem, it's what's happened in order for them to do that, and what can we help do collectively, or the organisations we fund, to get them back on the path that they wish to be on, as opposed to the path that they're, for no fault of their own, finding themselves on.
Of course, that's lovely. That's really lovely. So I know you're not allowed any favourites, but do you have any other stories that stand out to you at all?
Do you know, the biggest story for me is all of these groups doing amazing things. 9 times out of 10 they're volunteers. They just want to invest in people. Yeah. And it's normally because something's happened in their life to make them stand up and say, actually, this is a problem. I can solve it. I've been through it myself. And it's that, for me, the people doing something for people is amazing at no cost to themselves. You know, it's just selfless. So for me, as an organisation that's, you know, slightly a bit more removed from the delivery, I think the voluntary sector, or the third sector in Cornwall, so undersells itself, because what it does is it sees a gap and it fills the gap, and it can do it quick, and it can do it quick, and it's nimble, and it's fast paced, and the creativity that comes out of all of that from the ideas is just amazing. So there's a lot that I think we can learn from the voluntary sector, definitely.
Definitely. That sounds absolutely wonderful. So as well as the essential funding, what other support can you offer these organisations? I can imagine your wealth of knowledge is so deep.
Yeah, we do see quite a lot and hear quite a lot. But I think another thing that we also provide, again, to remove barriers to funding, is support for the groups. Yeah. Because sometimes, what people don't realise is they need policies in place. So yes, this is your idea, that's brilliant, and this is your objective, but you need a constitution or a document to say this is where we're going to get from A to B. So everyone that's involved knows. You know, same with safeguarding. If you're working with young people, vulnerable adults, or anyone really, any of us at any time might need to know the process in which to raise a concern amongst someone that you're helping. So we also help groups understand their policies, write their policies, understand they need a committee sometimes. So we help them with that. So it's not just about the grant, it's about giving them the infrastructure to do something really well, and then in turn they can access funding from us. And we tend to be the seed funder, because our grants are quite small. Our largest grant is about £5,000 and our average grant is £3,000. But if you come to us and you can do it and we're there and we offer the support, the lottery is the net. You know, you can then go on and on. So it's kind of like the seed funding and the kind of testing out, come on, let's apply for a grant and see what more you can do here with some funding. Yeah,
kind of like a stepping stone into it, to kind of give the foundations and things for these ideas, and then kind of see what happens at the fly.
Yeah, definitely.
No, that's wonderful. So how can people and organisations get in touch with you and find out more information?
So the best thing to do is either visit our website, which is www.cornwallfoundation.com, and or give us a ring, and all our information can be found on our website, and it starts from there really, either giving us a phone call, coming through the expression of interest, which is what we encourage groups to do, because then it will get picked up. So yeah, that's how you can get in contact with us. For any of our appeals, like the cost of living appeal that we're currently doing, it's all on our website. If you want to donate or find out more about the groups we help, it's all there, and we'll all be happy. All of the staff team are really lovely, so they're more than happy to help.
Could you tell us more about the cost of living appeal, just quickly?
Yeah, no, of course. So the cost of living appeal we set up to enable things like these warm hubs. You know, food banks are saying that they are not getting the donations that they did because people's budget is much tighter.
Yeah, we were talking about this morning.
Yeah, so of course they're down on food, and there's this bigger pool of people that are trying to access it. And then in turn with that is mental health. So mental health, especially, which is really scary amongst young people, is huge.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we can help that drama club to instill confidence in a young person, and they do that through talking to them and empowering them and making them realise they can achieve much more than what they thought they could, that's, you know, that's what the groups are doing. So the cost of living supports quite a broad range of organisations. It will support community groups that are looking to do more therapy. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the WAVE project, but they take people out to do surfing, and it's like young people to do therapy because every day has just got, it's just overwhelming for everyone. I mean, all the signposts and everything that we're thinking of every day, there's signposts going everywhere, and sometimes it's just remove yourself from the situation, go and talk to someone, do that through surfing, build up the trust. They talk a bit more. You start to unpick the issues that we all face, everyone faces. And that's, it's just helping people. So the cost of living is to really, really help all of those organisations that do that really good work that we need for society to, you know, make good people so society can thrive.
Of course, no, that's wonderful. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us here in the studio today, Kirsty, and thank you to you and all the team at CCF for the hard work you're all doing and the support you give. I'm just going to throw it back to Nathan now in the studio.